Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Greg here today, bringing guys a Call of Duty Modern Warfare gameplay commentary. Which you guys are watching in the background is a tactical nuke with the AMAX, and today I want to talk to you guys about the meta changes as well as the new sniper rifle that came out. So the new sniper rifle I don't really think is all that good. I really do like it. I think it's fun, but it is not practical, and here's the reasons why. The new sniper has some issues whenever it comes to stability. So it's not a stable gun at all, especially even if you put attachments on for stability. And you can't really do that because it's just such a slow weapon when it comes to ADS speed already that you really have to focus your kit around ADS time. And whenever you do that, you're making the gun even more unstable. So I think that, honestly, the gun itself is just not very good because of that reason, but also because the bullet velocity is very, very low, and leading your shot can be difficult with it, especially whenever you can't really see the sniper shots, where they're going and stuff like that. It's also a problem with the HDR and like the AX50. It seems a little bit more visible on the Rytec AMR, but again, still, it's hard to see compared to something like Battlefield where you can actually see where your bullet is going. Also, whenever you don't really have to lead your shot whatsoever with the HDR, is there really any point of using a weapon that is slower than the HDR at handling and slower bullet velocity? You tell me in the comment section below if you really think so. But anyways, yeah, I really think that it needs an ADS speed buff by default, needs less idle sway by default. Also, it really just, it doesn't need an accuracy buff because then it would be crazy because it does have extreme damage. But what it really does need also is a slight bullet velocity buff, maybe make it a little bit more in line with the AX50, maybe a little bit slower because it has more damage than the AX50. But right now in its current state, I just don't really think that it's a good weapon, and I would really, really like to see it changed. Now, that does not mean it is not a fun weapon. It's a very fun weapon, especially because you actually feel rewarded whenever you are starting to lead shots on people and you get the kill. It feels like you're sniping in a game like Battlefield, right? Battlefield, you really have to lead your shot, you have to get that down to the wire, and you always have to headshot for a one-shot kill. And the Rytec AMR is like chest up whenever it comes to really long range, maybe torso, whatnot, but it just feels so good whenever you get those leaded shots on people, and it just feels amazing. I can't stress that enough. But the problem is it's not practical because the HDR is just so damn good with its bullet velocity being basically hit scan. And yeah, I really don't know how they could balance it out considering the HDR is just that crazy, and they gave it even a better buff with the damage this time around, so I really don't know what they were thinking. But hopefully we'll see the Rytec AMR buff. But as for the meta change and stuff like that, the current meta in ground war, I really think it's going to start shifting towards the 7.62 weapons. And the reason being is because some of the 7.62 weapons got buffed. So the AK-47 now ADS is a lot faster than it used to. It's by 2 frames. And that's going to make using it with like a Romanian barrel or the RPK barrel just that much better. And it's not really going to feel like it, is affecting it much at all now that it got that buff. The AMAX here got a slight nerf, but I don't really think it's going to be noticeable, especially in ground war, considering you're fighting people generally at longer ranges anyways in ground war, so I really don't think we're going to notice the AMAX nerf whatsoever in here. Maybe 6v6, 10v10, but the meta in there anyways is just going to shift to the M4 if the ground nerf wasn't that significant. The ground nerf, in my opinion, wasn't super significant, especially because it only got slightly more recoil. They really toned down the no-stock attachment with this recent update, which I think is also a really good thing because the no-stock attachment, you didn't really lose much accuracy whenever you were using it. Like, it's supposed to make you have less idle sway and less recoil control, but in my opinion, for the amount of movement speed you get with it, it really just didn't affect the gun that much. So I think it's in a good spot right now, but it's also not very practical for something like ground war. If you're going to be playing 6 versus 6 and 10v10, I think it's still going to be a very viable attachment, and you could probably still use it there. Maybe pair it up with the compensator or the Merc foregrip, and it will be still very viable. But whenever you can move faster, because what the no stock attachment allows you to do is double tack sprint jump around a corner. very effectively and a little bit farther than you would without it, so it kind of tones that back a little bit more, and this game has a severe peeker's advantage, so that's why I think it's a good thing that they tone that down just a little bit. But the FAL and the Odin is where I really want to focus, because stopping power, in my opinion, if you aren't using it already, stopping power is one of the best field upgrades for ground war, because you can map people like crazy, and the FAL and Odin got their one-shot headshots returned. So what that means is whenever you load stopping power into your gun, you get a headshot multiplier now, and on guns that have very powerful damage like the Odin and the FAL, they can now one-tap to the head. So this is amazing, and it means that the FAL is going to be viable again, because if you guys don't know, I personally think the AK-47 is a better FAL for long range, especially with something like the Romanian barrel and rubberized grip tape, along with the tac laser. I feel that setup in general is just better than the FAL for long range, because it has less recoil, it's easier to control, and it's just super accurate, fast muzzle velocity. It just feels better. I mean, you can give it a try and let me know what you guys think feels better. But now that the FAL has that one-shot headshot, that means up close it's going to be just that much more lethal than, you know, some of the other 7.62 weapons. So I think that puts it in a really good spot, and I think the Odin also needed this because it's a very slow-firing weapon, has high recoil, and if you really want to negate that recoil, you have to put on attachments that are going to slow it down even more than it already is. So I would really recommend doing that, trying out those guns and putting stopping power on them, because now they're going to be very powerful and just that much better than they were before, and it's really going to shake up the meta, especially for ground war. So I think you guys should really give those weapons a try, as well as the other 7.62 weapons like the AK-47 and the Scar H, and try those ones out. Maybe for SMGs, try out the Uzi, try out the Fennec if you're going to be running up real close. I think the MP5 and the Fennec are going to be kind of neck to neck now, especially because the Fennec doesn't really have much range, and the MP5's range was reduced, especially with 10mm 30 round mag. So I really think the meta is going to shift to just honestly the higher damage weapons for ground war, and honestly I'm okay with that, because I feel that the higher damage weapons have a lot more recoil and they're a little bit more skillful to use, because they take a lot of just more aim, I would say, than something like an M4 or a Growl. So I'm pretty happy with this recent update, and give the 7.62 weapons a try. I think they're really going to start to shine since this happened. I've been using them this whole time and I absolutely love them, so hopefully you guys will too. And tomorrow I'm going to try to bring you guys a gameplay that I'll break down instead of just like a normal commentary like this. So I just wanted to give you guys the update on what I think the meta is going to change to, and yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.